Welcome. In this video I'm going to be going over the procedure for replacing the battery on an iPhone 6. So this is an older iPhone at the time I'm recording this, and you may wonder why it's worth putting a battery in an old phone like this, but this could be used for GPS. You could put it in your car and load GPS software on it. You could give it to a kid to play with. You could use it as just a camera or like an MP3 player. You could use it on a bicycle. There are many uses for old devices like this, but the battery's bad, so I need to replace it. So this is the battery I'm using. This specific battery is no longer available. I'll put a link in the description to some other batteries you can use for this. And lastly, this can be pretty dangerous. Lithium batteries can start on fire, so if you don't feel comfortable doing this, it's probably left to someone else. Either way, be very careful. So I've already discharged the battery in this because a depleted lithium battery is safer. That being said, if you were to charge that lithium battery that has been depleted back up again, that's not necessarily safer. But if you're getting rid of the battery or if you're removing it, it's better to have less energy in the battery. Also, once you get the battery out, you should recycle it. I usually take my batteries to Interstate Battery, but there's lots of places you can recycle batteries. You don't want to throw it in the trash. That can be very dangerous. So the battery I got comes with some tools. Here's the battery. It comes with new adhesive and it comes with some screwdrivers. So this is going to have a star tip on one and Phillips on the other, or it's pentalobe, and we have some tweezers. I may also be using tools in my Apsung toolkit, and I'll put a link below to this. So the first thing I need to do is remove these pentalobe screws right here next to the charge port. So I'll just remove these. These should be the same size. You want to keep track of these, so I'll put those aside. So next I need to pry this open, and it comes with this suction cup. Now I do have a screen protector on this one, so hopefully that's adhered well enough to the screen that it will pry up. But I tend not to use these little suction cups. I have this tripod mount, and it's bigger, it's easier to hold on to. Alternatively, you can buy suction cups that are a little larger that clamp on. I've seen bathroom like soap trays that go in a shower that have big suction cups on them. You can use those. I've used those in the past. So I'm going to position this on here as close to the home button as I can, like that, and maybe I'll fold this down. And now I have the little guitar pick tool. I have some that were in my Apsung kit too, and I want to pry this open. So I'm going to pull back on the suction cup. This can get a little tricky. I may reposition this. So I want to pull this open and get a little gap right there. And I'll just stick this in here. Now you can ruin the phone if you're not careful. Of course, this is an old phone at this point, so if I ruin it, it's not the end of the world. Okay, this is coming apart pretty easy. If you've ever done an iPhone 6s, there's adhesive in here. I don't think there's adhesive in this one. There we go. Take off the suction cup. So I can open this up now, and I want to prop this top up against something. I like to use canned carrots, and then I'll take a piece of masking tape and I'll very lightly tape this to the can. Just like that. There we go. Next, I want to remove this bracket here that holds the battery connector down. So these screws are different sizes. They are the Phillips as opposed to the pentalobe. And they're very tiny. So the left one is longer than the right one. So keep that in mind. So I'm going to set these over to the side in the same orientation I took them out. Then I can remove this plate here. Now I can use this tool to pop open this connector right here. And that'll disconnect the battery. As I drained it, I've also shut this off. Okay, the battery is disconnected. Next, I have 5 screws here I want to remove. So there's 4 in the corners and 1 in the middle. You don't want to disconnect this one. You want to disconnect the ones holding this plate down. Same as before, I'm going to remember where the screws are. So these 3 bottom ones should be the same, and the upper left and the upper right are different from each other and the 3. So I want to keep them all separate anyway. So now we have a couple connectors we need to disconnect. This one on the right, the one on the left, and there's one under it, and there's one more under that. There we go. So now the top and bottom are separated. Here you can see the 4 connectors I disconnected. You can see the 4 sockets. So now I have to remove the adhesive from the battery. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to heat this up. I could use a hairdryer, a heat gun. You can buy pads that you can use to heat up phones. I'm going to set it on top of my 3D printer and turn on the heated bed to 60°C. And I'm not necessarily going to let the whole thing get up to 60°C, but I'll let it get warm, and that should make the adhesive removal a little easier. Okay, so I've warmed this up a bit. I'm using the blunt tweezers here. I'm going to pull these black tabs back. And under that you can see this adhesive, it's white. So this stuff is super sticky and it breaks easily. So one thing you want to make sure to not do is puncture the battery. That could start a fire. So I'm going to pull this adhesive back. It almost feels like chewing gum, and I don't know how well I can get this on camera. Want to grip the whole thing, and I want to pull it back slowly, but try not to rip it. So there's this metal behind it that could cause it to break. So as I pull it up, I'm going to want to hike up on it a little bit. Okay, I think I got it out in one go. So now I need to do the other side. So if it breaks, you could probably use some fishing line around the battery, but you want to make sure you don't bend the battery and kind of pull under it. Okay, so I tore this here. So I'm slowly going to try and pull this out, because I tore part of it, but I still have enough. Hopefully I can slowly pull this out. There we go. It slung the battery out. Okay, so now I have the new battery here. You can see the old one says it's 6.91 watt hours and the new one is 9.55. So it's supposedly about 2 watt hours larger, so I don't know if that'll give more capability. This phone was given to me, so I never had it when the battery was new, so I can't tell if it's better or not. But it'll definitely be better than this old battery. So now is a tricky part. We need to put the adhesive on the battery. So the battery is going to go in like so. So the adhesive needs to be on the bottom of the battery, and those black tabs were on the top. So what I'm going to do is peel off. You can see this pink, blue, and there's another kind of bluish layer here. This can be very tricky. I'm going to peel that layer off. So it's the top layer of plastic. Now this stuff is super gooey, and I just accidentally put this on backwards. So that is tricky. And there something landed on it. I don't know what that is. So I think this is a good example of the kind of problems you can have with this. So I'm just going to start laying this on. I'm going to line up the edge of the battery with the junction between the black and the white here. You want to make sure it's straight. Okay, I have that partially on there. I'm going to carefully flip it over, see what my alignment looks like. I'll press this down. Now I have to figure out how to fix this mess. Okay, that got a little ugly. Next, these blue tabs are going to come off, and that's going to fold over the top. Like so. So finally, I need to install this back in here. So the main thing you have to have lined up is it needs to be able to plug in. So the power needs to go there. So I'm going to carefully pull the bottom off here. You want to pull it at an angle like this so you don't peel the adhesive up. And hopefully where I gummed it up down here, it's not too bad. Yeah, it's kind of sticking a little. Now you could buy replacement adhesive tabs if you really screwed up. I'm just going to temporarily put that battery connector in there while I set it in place to make sure I have it lined up right. Okay, that looks good. I'll press it down. Now we're not going to hook the battery up yet. Now we need to reverse the procedure that we took it apart. I need to connect up all these connectors and put the plate back on, and then I will reconnect the battery and put the plate back on here. So I'm going to speed through the video a little bit. So a little tip when you're putting these tiny screws in is to turn it backwards or counterclockwise until you hear a little click. That's how you can know the thread is lined up, and then start doing it the normal clockwise way. Okay, I got that plate on. I'll reconnect the battery here. This can be a little tricky. The connector may not line up perfectly. You need to move it around a little bit. Okay, that's completed. Carefully remove my tape around my can. So now I can put this back together. So there's a little lip here. You need to slide it in here. And then the rest should snap together. Now I can hold down the power button and see if it starts up before I put these remaining screws in. And this battery's actually been sitting a couple months, so it might even be dead. So I'll connect this up to some power, see if I can get it to start. There we go. Okay, so it wasn't working. It was flashing the Apple logo. So I pulled it back open and I removed the power connector, and then I removed the plate up towards the top, and I removed the 4 cables and installed them all again. So I think I didn't have one of them seated perfectly. And I put it back together, and now it has it's real hard to see. Let's see if I turn the light off. You can just barely see there's a little charging battery logo here. So it is charging. If I look at my charger, it's charging at 1.9 amps. So I did buy this battery a couple months ago, and I'm just finally now getting into putting it in. I should have probably put it in sooner. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to charge it all the way up. I'm going to use it until it turns off, and then I'll plug it in and let it fully charge, and that should calibrate the battery. And I will also reinstall these screws next to the charging port. I haven't done that yet. So that's changing a battery on an iPhone 6. I ran into a couple problems with the adhesive, so that's something to look out for. And also, if you have that flashing Apple logo, double check your connections. So hopefully this helps some people out. That's all I'm going to cover in this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you liked this video, please click like. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'd appreciate if you could do that. And thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.